I'll just start by asking a little bit about what you guys discussed today.
Yeah. Today was a special session court meeting, a commissioners court meeting. It was um, to approve a preliminary budget. We have to file a preliminary budget by the 15th of August, which that's tomorrow, and that's Saturday. So we had to call it a day ahead of time. And so preliminary means, is we got it to balance. We're going to submit it, but it's not set stop. We can go back. We have up until um, the last day of September to get it filed. We have to have a new budget by October 1st. If we can't come up with that, then it basically goes back to the previous year. But we got it to balance, and we're pretty close.
I mean, you kind of said it there, but what was the biggest priority for you guys with this budget season?
Um, when we first come in, we thought that we was going to be way worse than what we were. We thought that we was in a pretty big deficit. And the past week, we had a meeting Tuesday of regular session, and then we had a budget workshop afterwards. And basically, Wednesday and Thursday, I've set meetings with the auditor, and the treasurer's office and the judge's office, and we've hashed out a lot of stuff. We've been through, and there were cuts, but we also had some stuff left out, you know, that wasn't in the budget that would help it out. And I mentioned it earlier, one being the U.S. forestry money that each road bridge gets. We get a allotted amount, and this year is 160,000. So it had our budget, or the whole budget had the general fund covering that money to our road bridge budgets. And so we was able to cut that. That's $160,000 right there. So
And what other departments or what other things did you guys cut to make sure things could balance?
so every department and every department in the whole county got some sort of a cut. We went through and dissected the whole budget. If there was line items where here we are at less than a month and a half away from the end of the budget, if they only spent 30% of the budget, we know that they can afford to cut that a little bit. So we just went through each line item. There wasn't no particular, we didn't just go after one department. We went after everything, and including ourselves, road and bridge parts. The judge's office got cut. So, like I said earlier in court, the general fund was covering road and bridge, 312,000, and we found 160 from the 160,000 from the U.S. Forest, so that brought it down to 150 that they were covering us. 152 to be that. So in the change, we took that out of there as well, and we're going to start taking that from some investment accounts and some accounts that we have with money in there. So that's 312,000 right there. They'd come this off of all four road and bridge markets.
I know for like other counties I've talked to, a lot of the reasons they've been needing to make cuts is like inflation. Was that the reason that like affected you guys this year?
Yes. Um, you know, I can speak for, anybody that has to do with fuel. I mean, fuel is went through the roof. All of our, as commissioners, we work on county roads, so all of our roads material has went high. It's just everything has gone up, and that made a big deal. And I know not only did it affect the county, but everybody in the whole county got affected. So my idea was to, and the commissioner, I believe the other commissioners were and thinking the same way I was thinking, that we need to cross every avenue in this budget before we put that burden back on the taxpayers.
And this is such a common sense question, but why didn't you guys want to put the burden back on taxpayers?
Well, number one, we found some stuff in the budget that was our fault. That the 160,000 that, and I keep referring to that because that was one whole deal that was missing, because the government last year they cut all the U.S. foresters out from us. So this year we got notice that we was getting it back. So that got, just recently got added back in the budget. That wouldn't be the taxpayers' fault that we overlooked that. That's what we're elected to do, is to make sure everything's in order in this budget. And number two is same thing you just said, inflation. Everybody's getting hit at home. Everybody's gas is going up, bills are going up, and not getting paid no. So we tried everything we can do, and I can successfully say that we are pretty close. And we got a balanced budget right now. We may have to tweak it a little bit in between now and October 1st, but we're pretty close.
And obviously, I'm gonna move a little bit over to the jail, because I think, the sheriff was concerned that the jail was possibly getting cut very soon. I mean, what do you just have to say to that?
Well, there was talks about that in court, that possibly we're basically funding two jails. We're outside housing, outside the county, the majority of our inmates, and then our jail here we can only house 7, so he's keeping some here as a walkthrough. If somebody gets arrested, they come here, and then the next one they get transferred to Angelina County. So there was talks about, hey, would we be able to save money if we close this jail down and just use all of Angelina County? But I was never 100% in favor of that, because I don't believe we'd have saved that much money, because you're still going to have around the clock dispatchers. That's not going to change the budget any. You're still going to have around the clock at least a jailer. So when somebody does get arrested, they get transported over because we have nowhere to hold them. So they have to be taken right then. So I do I think, and the sheriff, I don't want to quote him, but he knows this jail is old, and he knows that it probably needs to be shut down. But we got to have another alternative. As simple as that. And I mean, we can't just we can't cut the whole thing. I mean, you can't cut it out until we have a solution.
And I know you guys are working on a solution. I believe you guys are applying to grants and stuff like that. Could you speak to that?
Well, there has been a grant, and I did speak on it in our Tuesday meeting. He's found a grant for its immigration detention center that the government will fund. But and our grant coordinator is working on it, and there's been some things that we don't think. Me personally, I don't think we fit it. It's in plain as simple. It says that our Trinity County inmates can't be housed in the same facility that is funded by the government for this grant. So the sheriff is actively working on trying to find another way around that. And that grant's changing every day. Different terminology in it every day. So maybe the government will say, you know what, we can, if y'all will be able to house. But as of right now, it says plain we can. But our grant coordinator is working on that. Every day she's working on it all day, and she's come a long way with it. And hopefully they can make this work. I mean, it'd be a great opportunity, but it just doesn't fit my opinion right now.
Right now, it just seems like it's just a waiting game, basically.
Yeah, it's it's a detainee facility for immigration. It has nothing to do with our everyday Trinity County inmates, and it says it. So, but like I say, hopefully they get it changed.
I mean, I guess my last question related to that is, what do you hope will happen in the future?
Well, I hope the government does step in, or some kind of grant steps in, and either state or the government would say, hey, here's what y'all's county needs a facility. Y'all can't afford it. We just went through a jail bond. It failed unanimously, 60% or so more. And people can't afford the taxes be raised. And this is an issue. And the state is steadily putting different mandates on the jail, putting different mandates on the sheriff's department. And at some point, they got to give us some relief and help us. And that's what I hope, that they'll step in and say, oh, hey, this grant's opened up, and it is for Trinity County. It is for exactly fits y'all. I'm sure there's several counties around the state that is having the same issue, So that would be what I hope in the future that happens.
How hard are you guys working, behind the scenes to make sure things run smoothly in Entity County?
I think we're all working really hard. I mean, I'm talking about her. She is steadily applying for grants to help out, and she has got us several. I've worked nonstop, and I think the other commissioners and the judge worked nonstop on this budget. Like I said from the beginning, we thought we was in a way deficit, and we was able to move stuff around and find stuff that was missing and out of the budget, and uh, now we're at zero balance. We balanced out, so I think that's a really big accomplishment in my opinion.